Sex traffickers left thousands of women to starve during Italy lockdown. Gangs abandoned trafficked Nigerian women without access to food or funds amid coronavirus pandemic.
Here's a summary of the article.
Thousands of Nigerian women forced into prostitution were left to starve by sex traffickers during the COVID-19 pandemic in Italy, The Guardian can reveal. According to the UN's International Office for Migration, more than 80% of the tens of thousands of Nigerian women who arrived in Italy from Libya in recent years were victims of highly organized sex trafficking gangs. According to testimonies from volunteers, social workers and NGOs, during the prolonged and strict 3-month COVID-19 lockdown introduced by the Italian government, trafficking gangs abandoned women and their children, who were unable to leave their homes or work and were left without food or money to pay the rent. Sex traffickers had no interest in feeding or helping Nigerian women during the pandemic, says Alberto Mossino, co-founder of Piemontless with his wife, Princess Okokan, a former victim of sex trafficking. In Naples, where thousands of women from various nationalities have been forced into the sex industry, the Daedalus Cooperative began a crowdfunding initiative in March to provide aid and food packages to Nigerian women who were victims of sex trafficking during the pandemic. Historically, Nigerian women forced into prostitution in Italy lived under the tight control of mamans, older women who had often been sex workers themselves and who managed the prostitution of the women. Before the lockdown, this allowed women under the control of these gangs more freedom, but under lockdown this has been catastrophic as the women have found themselves isolated and with no one willing to help them.
This post received a score of 45,000, with an upvote ratio of 95%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
It's almost as if those traffickers don't care about the humans they traffic into slavery.
Seems like it is cheaper to get more that pay for the care of your slaves. That is the value of a life to these assholes.
That's basically how things were on Haiti, or Saint-Domingue as it was called back then. It was considered cheaper to work the enslaved to death and replace them with fresh victims than to keep the enslaved alive and relatively healthy.
This was also true under the convict leasing method of prison labor in the U.S. Landowners could lease prisoners they could work to death because they weren't an investment like a slave. Went on until the 30s.
Yeah, labor for U.S. Steel in Alabama, I believe. PBS Doc slavery by another name I think is source.
Peonage continued well past the 1930s.
U.S. is very good at slavery. When one form of it becomes illegal, a new way gets invented.
Why Nigerian women specifically? What makes Nigeria such a good place for sex trafficking as opposed to similarly poor countries like Burkina Faso or Libya? I don't know the reasons, but it's actually more specific than just Nigeria. It's mainly one region in Nigeria, Edo State. In the past I regularly represented Nigerian women, in the asylum system in Ireland. All from Edo State, all trafficked to Italy for prostitution before escaping and claiming asylum. Always the same. We had a 17-year-old girl here. Same story. Nigeria, Italy, Germany. Forced into prostitution at the age of 12. She was utterly broken. Still forced herself to think positive, but in some moments her inner demons took over and you could literally see how destroyed this little soul was. Flashbacks, shaking, PTSD, you name it. Truly heartbreaking.
Do you still have contact with this young woman? I really wish I could talk to other trafficking victims' safety and let her know it gets better. So much better. Recovery and healing is within reach. Edit. Why are people so rude today? Trafficking is so much more common than we like to believe. Sorry you can't experience that sense of empathy within a community and feel the need to take this out on others. I'm truly sorry and I wish you a better sense of understanding in the future.
There are a lot of people here that doesn't believe trafficking exists. Or that slaves were actually treated well and that we are exaggerating the atrocities they faced. It's pretty telling. A lot of these Redditors have not actually done their research and are commenting with opinions and feelings rather than facts.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.